Welcome to Matcha Mamas. I'm Silver, your host, and this is where we get real about parenting, the beautiful, the messy, and everything in between. No perfect answers here, just a space to be yourself, connect, and find some comfort in the shared experience of it all. So grab your matcha, settle in, and let's talk.
Mama.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope that you guys are enjoying the first 3 episodes. I am kind of caught up right now. I had pre-recorded the first 3 episodes, and now we're kind of live. It's Saturday, and you're hearing this on Monday. I've got my matcha right here. I've transitioned to peppermint matcha lattes, which don't knock it till you try it. It's so delicious. It's such like a cozy vibe for the winter season, and I am fully ready. If you are watching the video of this, you can see my little Christmas lights that are up and on. The life of a mother, I am always drinking cold drinks. But how's it going? I've super appreciated everybody who has listened so far and all the feedback I've gotten, and I'm just so very grateful that you guys are here and continuing to listen. I had a really good week. It's kind of fun. I can do it like a proper check-in. I had a really good week. I got tickets to see Post Malone in June in Seattle, so I'm so excited. He is my favorite, my absolute favorite, and he's also one of my daughter's favorites. My daughter, when his Austin album came out in July, I think it was, but when I was pregnant with my daughter, when his album came out, I was listening to it in order. I'm that kind of gal. I listen to albums in order every time, the whole way through. Every time Texas Tea would come on, because it's got this like kind of loud like boom, boom, boom to it, my daughter would move around so much in my tummy, and it was like the sweetest thing ever. So when she was born and she was a newborn and she was struggling, I would play that song, and every time, without a doubt, it worked every time. It still works. It's either that or the Canadian national anthem. I prefer Texas Tea, to be honest. Oh, that sounds very unpatriotic of me though. I love my country. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, in terms of things that I like to listen to, like the national anthem is for special occasions like the hockey game. So today is part 4. It's all about how I prepared my body for pregnancy. We're mainly talking, honestly, about some like checkups and some nutrition changes that I had to make. Right now, this is more specifically like things that I did. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to tell you what to do at all, but I'm telling you what they told me. And I strongly encourage you to go and see your healthcare practitioners to get personalized advice for yourself and for your own health. This is just what was told to me. This right now, we're focusing on physical health and dietary changes. So far in this Preparing for Pregnancy series, we've talked about my mental health, the decision to have a child, and finances. And I just wanted to address a little bit in the finances episode. I got so much good feedback, and I'm really grateful for that. I just wanted to address a couple things that honestly a good friend of mine brought up. I do want to acknowledge her feedback. Some things I said in there that I'm really hoping did not come off the wrong way, where I said I like to color coordinate my things because like I can, because I've worked really hard to afford that luxury. I do acknowledge the inherent privilege I have, how I was born, where I live, and just like circumstances of my life. And that doesn't mean that I haven't worked my ass off or that I don't understand and know financial struggle, but I do want to acknowledge that just because I worked really hard doesn't mean that everyone who works really hard will have the privilege to afford to color coordinate their car seat to their car. Like, I get that that's a really privileged thing to say, and I just want to acknowledge that if I ever say anything that comes across the wrong way, which I'm sure is bound to happen, like it's just me talking to myself, like I don't get like a reaction immediately to know if maybe I said something that maybe I shouldn't have. So I always want everyone to feel free to be kind, but to give me that feedback if something I said comes across the wrong way, because I never want that, and I want everyone to feel comfortable and safe. And especially when you're talking about finances, like I feel like finances is such a touchy topic and such an intimidating topic. And even while I was discussing it, I tried to be mindful of that, because even I struggle financially. I'm here with you, and I know that my financial struggles are very privileged privileged financial struggle, and that my worry is like, can I afford a house, not can I afford my next meal? So I think when we're talking about financial struggles, like there's different levels to it and there's different inherent privilege, and I just want to be sensitive to that, and I don't ever want to come across the wrong way. Honestly, I have a good heart. I want everyone who comes here to feel like it's non-judgmental and safe and welcomed. So it doesn't matter how much you make or if you have a matching car seat to your car, like everyone here is welcome, and I just want to be sensitive to all sides. That being said, shall we get into today's episode? So the first thing I'm going to talk about is medical checkups and fertility health. I went to a few preconception checkups. I went to see my doctor, and I kind of said to her, look, I want to have a baby. I was due for a PAP anyway. So we talked about that. We talked about getting off birth control, and I talked a bit about it a little bit when I was talking about my mental health, but I was on a birth control called Seasonic. It's a progesterone and estrogen high dose birth control. It's the same one my mom was on, and I was on that one because a lot of the lower dose and generic brands just didn't work for me. it was being used to control my period, which if I had more information, I think I would not have done that at such a young age. I think that it was quite detrimental to my mental health to use that strong of a hormone that young to control my period. Like I wish I kind of went about it in a different avenue, but hindsight is 2020, and I also didn't have that knowledge or information, and I trusted my doctor, and I think she did what she thought was best for me for that time, and I was losing a ton of blood every month, so I don't blame her at all. But that's just kind of a side note, and that's something that I revisited getting back on birth control or contraception postpartum, because now I have a copper non-hormonal IUD, which IUDs scared me and I never had one before, but I'm enjoying it. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but I have had no issues except for just like that period where like, your period has to, I would say refractory period, but the period of time where it takes everything postpartum for your hormones to go back to normal, and even now, like a year postpartum, you still are leveling out after pregnancy and postpartum. So it takes a long time. From my personal experience, I've really enjoyed having the IUD, but I was also very good at taking oral contraception as well. Like I was pretty much never missed. Yeah, that worked for me then-ish, and this works for me now. The first step was getting off of that. So I stopped taking that after the last pill in my box. I got a pap smear. Everything came back totally fine and ready to go. She kind of just checked out everything down there, and she's like, yep, healthy, good to go. So that was really great. Going forward from that, we had some of my levels tested in a blood test. They can check like different hormones depending on what you might be deficient in or what your doctor might want to look into, but that's all they really checked with me. They're mainly concerned about my thyroid levels, and to make sure that, like, because I do have a history of diabetes in my family, that they wanted to make sure that my blood sugar and everything was good. And after that, so my doctor actually did not do prenatal care. That was unfortunate, but it happens. And then you can kind of choose, at least in Vancouver, like if you want to go to a maternity clinic of some kind or midwives. That was kind of like the guidance. So she gave me that and a couple other resources of like where I would be going to once I was pregnant. That's kind of all the information that I had at that point. And then my next doctor visit with her was when I was pregnant. And then I went and saw my naturopath for nutrition. So yeah, when I got off of birth control, and I touched about this a little bit in my mental health episode of preparing for pregnancy, but I really struggled getting off of birth control. I actually went back the other day and watched the videos that I took while I was trying to get pregnant. I felt so sorry for myself and how much I was struggling, and I felt like I was going crazy. Like I felt insane, and like I was so unwell. I was so emotional, and I was so doubtful. I was so doubtful that I would, one, ever be able to get pregnant for no real reason, just fear, and about if I was going to be a good parent or not. I went into one of the pharmacies here called Pure Pharmacy, and I walked in and I scared the poor gal and cried at her, and she got me on this fiber supplement that tasted awful. It was absolutely disgusting. exhausting, but it helped a lot with getting everything out of my body. And she put me on some other stuff. So this is where I'm going to talk about supplements. Supplements are very controversial, and I don't want you to think that you have to go out and take any of these to get pregnant. I'm not saying any of these are going to increase your chance necessarily of getting pregnant. This is what they gave me, and this is what I took. So after I kind of flushed out all of the birth control out of my system, I did have an appointment with my naturopath where she recommended some dietary changes to help support fertility. And essentially what she told me was that I need to increase my protein intake to about 20 to 30 grams per meal of protein, and to add more fiber into my diet, like flax seeds, psyllium husk, things like that will also help regulate my blood sugar and prevent constipation. And then of course you want to get on a prenatal. So the prenatal that I was on, it was by the brand Thorne with an E on the end. I took a Thorne prenatal. So the supplements I ended up going on, and then I'll go over what they are and how they're used for, was a prenatal, this Thorne prenatal, a vitamin D, an omega-3, a CoQ10, and iron. Basically, their overall role was basically to just help boost fertility and my overall health. Some of the benefits of these supplements that I was on was to just help me with my overall egg quality, hormone regulation, and reducing my oxidative stress. I'm a very stressed person. I'm a very anxious person, and the body, it happens, but the body tends to not want to get pregnant when you're in a state of stress, because the body will think like, oh, it's not a safe time or a safe place for me to introduce a baby into this person. I had to really focus on de-stressing while I was very distressed. Something that I was on vitamin D3/K2. The brand I was on is Cytomatrix. So vitamin D, and I am going to read. If you're watching the video, I am about to just read because I'm not about to make a mistake on this. Essentially, vitamin D supports ovarian function, hormone balance, and overall reproductive health. Vitamin K2 helps with calcium absorption and ensuring bone health during pregnancy. So I was on that one. The prenatal that I was on, which I ended up having to swap out halfway, and I had to end up taking the, they're called smart something prenatal gummies, because I just struggled hardcore with swallowing these once I got really nauseous, but then I was able to get back on this. But I was on Thorne Basic Prenatal. Prenatal vitamins are absolutely essential before conception, specifically because of how important the folate is in them for neural tube development and for iron for preventing anemia, because you're essentially growing a whole ass human, right? You are creating their blood supply, and I can't remember the exact amount, but basically you have liters more of blood inside of you while you're making a baby. All of your blood is going to create this baby. It doesn't leave a ton for you. And I was also on Thorne vitamin C, the Thorne brand vitamin C, but basically you just want a vitamin C with bioflavonoids. That's a word for you. Vitamin C is a great antioxidant that reduces oxidative stress and supports reproductive health and boosts your immunity. Vitamin C is just great overall. And then omega-3s, I was on Cytomatrix Peak EPA omega-3s. The benefits of omega-3 fatty acids for improving egg quality and reducing inflammation and supporting brain development during pregnancy. So important. So cool. Omega-3s are in things, especially like fish, and it will taste like the ones at least I have tasted like fish, and that was really hard when you're so nauseous, and the pills are huge. So again, you don't have to take any of these. These are just the things that were recommended to me, but if you are struggling with swallowing certain pills or having it in a certain form, they recommended me to take it in a oil form, to drink it, and I did it for as long as possible, and I just mixed it with maple syrup, and I couldn't do it after a while. I just couldn't do it. It made me so nauseous, so I got back on these omega-3, and it worked out even still. But anyways, you just do your best, you do the best you can. So then there's a CoQ10, which I thought was super interesting, because apparently this is actually more so for heart health, but it has other benefits. So I thought that was very interesting, because when I saw the bottle, it was for improving heart health, and when it was recommended to me, I was like, is there something wrong with my heart? But no, it turns out it helps with mitochondrial health, and everyone knows what the mitochondria is, because the mitochondria, say it with me, the powerhouse of the cell. And actually, I'm very fascinated with the mitochondria because it's also passed down through your maternal side. I'm a true crime junkie, and people have solved crimes based off mitochondrial DNA, which is very interesting to me. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. It also actually particularly is important in improving egg health quality, especially for women over 35. I was on a specific iron that is created by this pharmacy. Basically, you need to figure out what your iron levels are and then find the iron dosage that you're going to need to support your iron levels. I was on a really high dosage because I struggle, as well as my family struggles, with anemia for our whole lives. So figure out what you need and how your iron is going, but the iron in your prenatals might be enough. It wasn't for me. Iron is really important for maintaining adequate iron levels for both your energy and oxygen transportation, and it will help to prevent fatigue during pregnancy, which if you've ever been pregnant, it doesn't help that much, but it does help a lot. It's exhausting creating a baby. So then I took magnesium throughout. I took it at night every other day. I alternated with iron. I think that's also very important. I'm not going to give you too much information about like how many pills I took or whatever or times of day, because I want you to go and you can take this list if you would like to a professional and figure out what works for you. But I don't want you just to take the same things I take, because that might not work for you and it could be detrimental for you. I don't know. This is what I took as a jumping off point for you, but you don't need to take any of these, or you could take some of these, but do your own research, please. Pretty please. Check magnesium. The role of magnesium was important for me for reducing stress, promoting relaxation, and preventing cramps, which is essential for fertility and pregnancy. And if you've ever had those calf cramps when you get cozy in bed, you just want to stretch and then your whole fucking calf just no bueno at all. Before I was pregnant, and look into ashwagandha and if it will work for you and if you're allowed to have it while you're pregnant. I stopped taking it while I was pregnant because it was recommended to me, but before I was pregnant, I took ashwagandha with theanine and B6. Ashwagandha is amazing and it really helps manage stress, and B6 supports hormone regulation. So both of these are really important in managing your mental and physical demands of being pregnant and preparing for pregnancy. And then I took 5-HTP. I loved this one. I took it for a long time. It really helped me with improving my mood and reducing anxiety. I can't say enough good things about this. I can't take it right now, and I couldn't take it while I was pregnant just because I'm breastfeeding, and it wasn't recommended to take while you're pregnant, but before, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then finally, I know it's a lot. And then finally, I was recommended to get on a good probiotic. So probiotics are super important. You probably already know this and hear about them because they're a little bit more common. They're amazing for gut health and immune support. They're amazing, especially in preventing yeast infections and UTIs. I'm not going to talk a ton about necessarily diet other than just increasing your fiber and your protein, because everybody has a different diet. And I will try to get one of my friends who's a dietitian on this podcast to talk about that specifically, but the main things is just protein and fiber, and to eat as clean and healthy as possible. But I don't want anyone to think that like they have to just like survive off of kale to get pregnant. Like, it's important to eat, it's important to get your body as healthy as possible and to have really good and strong nutrition. I just don't want to talk about that right now because I don't have all the information. I just want to tell you what was told to me. That's that. But let's talk about matcha. Matcha obviously is my favorite thing. Ice cold, baby. But matcha has a ton of health benefits, as well as mindfulness and mental health benefits. I've always drank matcha. I'm a matcha a day or more girly. Once you're pregnant, I believe you're only allowed to have, you're allowed to have 2 because it's a certain degree of caffeine. But I will look into that and we'll talk about that more once we get to the part where we're pregnant in this journey. I incorporate matcha into my daily routine. It's an amazing source of gentle energy and stress relief. Matcha has tons of health benefits, but the main ones are that they're packed with antioxidants. It has calming effect. It plays a huge role for me in my self-care and my routine. So like when you're making matcha, and if you make it traditionally the way I do, it's a very mindful practice, like boiling the water, like whisking the matcha, and I like to make lattes. So I make it a whole vibe for myself. I do it every morning. It's all encompassing. Use both hands. You have to pay attention. Obviously, some days are less mindful than others, but I have found that it's like a pause in the day, especially I drink them in the morning. So I start my morning off with a mindfulness practice. It does so much for you. It does so much for your health, but I find my favorite part of it is just the practice of it. And it is a traditional practice. And like, I know that we all do it differently in the ways we can. Like I used to throw powder in my Nespresso frother, I can never say that word, with some water and make it like that. And like, you do whatever you can. You do whatever you want to, but I can't stress how amazing and how important matcha can be in your daily routine and for your mental health and for your physical health. But any kind of mindfulness practice is really important while you're preparing for pregnancy. So there's some other things that you can do like yoga and meditation. And I'm sure people are tired of hearing that by now, but honestly, give it a try. Try 2 minutes, try 1 minute, try 30 seconds and build from there. I can't express enough how impactful these practices can be. Anything though, it doesn't have to be yoga or meditation if you don't vibe with that, but anything you can do that will help you stay grounded during this period, because once you begin your trying to conceive journey, it is not for the faint of heart. It's a really trying experience when you're trying, but it's a very trying experience, and it's probably the hardest thing I've ever been through, and I don't say that lightly. So we'll get there, and it's a huge reason why I wanted to create this podcast, because I did listen to some other podcasts while I was trying to conceive, and they were fantastic, and I will share them and shout them out. I just felt like I was missing a more personal touch and a more casual touch, which is me. So we'll do both. Like, I want to make sure you guys have the right information. Like, I don't ever want to intentionally or unintentionally misinform you, which is why sometimes I just don't say things if I don't know, but I will get you the answer. It's not an easy thing to go through pregnancy and trying to conceive and then postpartum. Honestly, mothers, like, we do a lot and we go through a lot. So before you get pregnant, remind yourself that this is the last time, that the only thing that you have to really worry about is you, probably your family, whatever. But with this is the last time it's just you. And starting soon, hopefully, if you're trying to have a baby or if you have a baby, it's the last time. So soak it up, girl. Like, soak it all up. Get those really, really healthy habits going so that you have a solid foundation to fall back on, because things can get rough. I pray and hope that they don't get rough for you, but they did for me, and I would not have survived, honestly, would not have survived if I didn't have some really good tools in my toolkit and some really good coping mechanisms and some really good support set up for myself, because it was not an easy journey. I stayed physically and mentally healthy and connected, and it made me feel more in control of my health journey. So I would do things like I would do dance classes, I did yoga, I did spin, I did bar, I did Pilates, like all the boutique-y fun things. I was very active before I had a baby, and now I'm slowly getting back into it, which we'll get to down the line. But I actually just had Pilates this morning. Look at me go. If we go back to like our conversation about finances, like I would have never been able to afford all of these kind of like class and physio stuff if I didn't have benefits and like a health spending account. So finding a good job that you can afford those things is obviously a huge benefit. But if you can't, walking is free. There's tons and tons of amazing workout classes for free that you can do on YouTube. Like, I am a huge fan of Grow with Jo. She does like dance walking workouts that you can do in your apartment, and I did those all the time. I loved them. I found them so fun and so positive. I actually would love to get back into that, and I am slowly but surely. There's tons of things that you can do for yourself, and like I know that also eating clean is a privilege. So just do what you can with what you have. Like, I don't want anyone to think that you have to be perfect or you have to have the perfect pre-pregnancy journey to have a successful and healthy pregnancy. That's just not true. You can do tons of things to increase your chances of having a healthy pregnancy. Shit happens, and if you get pregnant pregnant unexpectedly and you haven't been eating clean, you haven't been working out, it's never too late to do what you can. But at the same time, I think we all deserve a ton of grace because we all are just out here doing the best we can, kind of randomly. But that's my favorite tip now. When I experience people that would seemingly be them not at their best, I just think they're doing their best. And if this is their best right now, that's their best right now. And I find I have a lot more compassion for people and a lot more grace for people. And it saves a lot of my time and energy worrying about why people are like this, or why they are the way they are, or what's like crawled up their ass that day, by just being like, they're doing their best and going on with my day. So we're all out here doing our best. I fully believe that you are doing your best with what is in your control. But to summarize this episode, it's so important, obviously, to take care of your mental and physical health through diet, medical support, and mindfulness preparing for pregnancy. Obviously, as we just said, you do your absolute best with that. But I would love to hear your health and diet preparation tips for pregnancy. And let me know if you would like a deeper dive into this in the future. I just kind of feel like I will anyway. But if there's anything else that you want me to talk about for pre-pregnancy, next episode, I thought I was going to go right into trying to conceive, but just with the literal climate and the emotional climate that I'm currently in, and I want to be true to that, I think we're going to talk more about just some like winter related mental health stuff, because that's kind of where I'm at right now, and I want to stay true to that, and I want to be honest with where I'm at. I do struggle quite a bit with seasonal affective disorder, so we're going to talk about that next time. And honestly, this will apply to you whether you're pregnant, not pregnant, have kids. I do want to talk about this. So yeah, that will be next episode. And thank you so much for hanging out with me today and listening to me and being open to me. Again, any feedback is welcome. As long as you're kind, any feedback is welcome. I want to make sure that I am being as supportive and open and non-judgmental as possible. If you want to find me, you can find me at Matcha Mama's Podcast on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. You can find me at Matcha Silver on Instagram for my just more personal vibe page. I've been sharing a ton of like recipes and just little kid tips here and there over there. So if you want to give me a follow, say hi, that would be great. But until next time, keep pouring into your own cup. Cheers! Bye!